what are some important meanings that are practically relatable to our chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita would be that, as they say, soul is eternal. Okay, it never comes, it just never dies. It's always there, and the body, it one day collapses. But the self, the Atma is always, the soul is always constant. It remains. So the, as I said, the Kurukshetra is the the inner battle that we have with our own vices versus virtues, and our body is like armor. Okay, many armors come and go, but the inner self is untouched. And when we die, it is not the end but a change of form, like how we change our dresses every day and when you take bath. Similarly, when you die, there are, you discard this old body and embrace a new body to learn new lessons out of that life. And the immortality of our consciousness is something which is beyond our physical reality. So there is exists something else which is not what we can perceive as. So that's what is our chapter 1 talking mostly about. When the chapter 2, but the point is they're talking about these important points on what is that we are to embrace. So what, how does it relate to us? See, whenever we are losing something, or we have to face some change, or we have to do something which is beyond or away from our comfort zone, the first thing we are struck with are our Kauravas, our vices. Then we need to understand that yes, the vices are like our armor, they're coming and coming and coming, but we need to embrace our inner light, which is coming from the Krishna, which are our virtues. So Atma is eternal. So inner light that shines bright is eternal. The body and whatever are the vices that we face is always changing. It transforms, transmutes into different elements based on the inner and external circumstances and our being. But what comes from an inner light of higher wisdom is always shines bright and is eternal. So that dharma, the path to dharma, is always truth. It is truth. The rest is all noise. So we need to always understand how we can integrate these into our life whenever we are struck with conflict. That's the most important thing. For things that we already have, in that area we don't have to learn any lesson, then all of this don't come into play. But it only comes into play when we are to take some actions that are related with our soul lessons. Okay, space where we have an inner conflict between our the vices and the and aligning myself with the dharmic path, that is divine alignment. That is where we get into this concern. The second is we need to follow our dharma without attachment with the result. Okay, so this is like karma yoga. But the point is, it is very easy and very natural for us to get into expectations when we do certain things. Okay, it is very natural that we, it can be as simple as when you do something nice, you expect some other people to be also nice with you, but not necessarily, right? But when doesn't happen, what we do have a lot of hurt, because I've been nice to people, why are people not being nice to me? So I get very, so what is the result here? The result is my need to be expecting people to be nice back to me because I've been nice. Okay, so the sense of duty of me being nice, okay, it feels like it is coming from my universal aligned divine dharma. Okay, it is coming from the inner light, but it often the vices are so deep rooted that the need for you to be nice may be coming from a self preservation mechanism. We don't know. At that time, All I think is I'll be a people pleaser. I want to do things for others because I expect things to be back good, so that I don't have any kind of, I don't have to face any abandonment. I don't have to face this lack of value or whatever. Or if you look at um, the vice that is coming from being very not trusting others at all. So that in some life we did not trust others. So here betrayed us. So for us the vice is that we should never trust. But then there is sometimes in your personal relations or in your professional relations where you need to trust others. At that time, when you expect that when I trust, things have to be like this, or when I don't trust, things will happen like this. And there might be a deviation in these outcomes as you start aligning with the universal dharma, which is coming from your inner light. But as you embrace it, there might be some repercussions in the outcomes. As long as we are attached with that outcomes, what happens is the more you are attached that this is how it has to be, it can't be any other way, it leads into a kind of dissatisfaction, discontentment, fear. So it gives rise to more vices, like it's a cycle. That is the reason the expectation is the mother of all the disappointment. So when you do your duty and leave the result to the God, okay, whatever that is, take it as prasad. Okay, this is what I am aligned with. Let me relook my life from different point of view, because when you leave that expectation that this particular action should have only this outcome, this result, my point is I need to have this result. It may not be the same way I take or I want it to be. It can happen in any other path, but we will not have that discretion. So when I think so, that is coming from my vices of fear, anger, jealousy, betrayal, lack, limitation, loss, grief, whatever that is, helplessness, vulnerability, feared consequences. It can be any of it. And when it comes from there, and the expected outcome, if it is, even though it is not or yes, firstly we get more and more worried about that particular thing, because that expectation outcome is not aligned with what we feel safe, what we feel comfort, what we feel in control, what we feel sorted. So for that discomfort is where the actual, what is this discomfort name? Kauravas. It can come in hundreds. So that is where we need to understand that the expectation or the clinginess to that result, that this is how it has to be, will create this bondage. And when I take some action with that expectation, it becomes more and more, it pulls me down into an eternal web of getting into my Sanchita and Agami karmas. So, what I may have to do is, I will do things, but as much as possible, I would want to listen to my inner light and inner voice and align myself with the divine will. Though it is discomfort, though it's scary, though it's fearful, that is where the Saranagati comes. That is where the Gita Saram is all about the highest level of surrendering, bhakti, love, devotion. So that is where we are celebrating our Krishna, little Krishna's teachings, right? So in little Krishna, why am I saying is today in our Havan Kund, the Krishna that came is that Kannaya, little Krishna who wants to eat makhan. So the moment I put that makhan today in the Havan, first I think so is little Krishna saying, Amma, give me makhan, I want it, it's so yummy. I was like, okay. So that is why, but see how deep is his teachings. So that is where we need to relate, okay? And the battlefield that represents the Kurukshetra again is our inner battle of choosing at that moment of truth. Will I choose the divine alignment truth, or will I get into my personal comfort for whatso reason it is? So will I let my own vices win, or though it feels little difficult, will I embrace my divine self? or divine aligned will, divine aligned actions? Will I allow myself to walk that path of discomfort with every moment of trust, every moment of acceptance, every moment of knowingness that the inner light will hold me, guide me, take me into the spaces that I am to take? And only that is possible when I'm not clinging to that outcome that I want. Okay? So that's the second important real practical lesson that I can take from this chapter too. And the third point Krishna talks about is, can I take both pain and happiness in a equal way? Equality. So even Buddha talks about this. There's a lot of study on this, taking it both in a more controlled manner. The moment I get happiness, I feel like I've conquered. The moment I get into little disappointment, I feel like there is a doom there. So, can I be equal in the face of pleasure, pain, gain, loss, victory, defeat? Is very, very important. So because these pains like opposite, even when you see Lalita Sahasranama or any other Sahasranama to us, there's always a sign of duality. Okay, why? There is heat and cold, there is joy and sorrow, there is big and small. So Ma Swami exists both in less and more. It's not just only in one form. There is more. She's there in the most beautiful, and there is also she's in the formless. So these are the things that are being told to us, just to embrace that both sides of the coin without me giving one importance over the other. So when I stand steady in the in amidst these dualities of life, then what happens is I feel I'm balanced. I feel like I, I don't lose out. Basically, I don't lose out. I don't have this uh, do more kind of thing, because I know whatever comes, comes, whatever goes, goes. I am doing my duty. I'm not attached with how can I do it, 2 to 4, 4 to 8. There's always this urgency, there's always this doing more, doing. Why? When I do more, it is Madhu. Again, going back to Durga Saptasati, it is Madhu. Kaitava is, it is bitter. So I don't want to have bitter experiences. I want to have only Madhu experiences, that is sweet experiences. But in order for me to gain more Madhu, more sweetness, I might be going through the path that is filled with vices, Kauravas. I'm going, and my loyalties are again placed with Kauravas. Again, who am I? The question then arises is, am I becoming Bhima, okay, aligned with divine self, or am I becoming Karna, aligned with ego-driven senses, ego-driven causes, vices? So that's where is our practicality that we have to apply. And only when you look at both the dualities and take it as from a sense of detachment, that both of them are temporary. It is like life is like a cycle, nothing is permanent. There is always a high, then there will be a low. When there is a low, there will be a high. Both of them are part and parcel of life. What is eternal is our bhakti towards our God. When you can embrace that kind of philosophy towards our being, then what happens is we will be free. We will be set free of these hold on upon these vices, expectation about outcomes. Things have to be like this only, or there is no this internal urge to do more, or less, or avoid, or there's these extremities. I don't need to get into those extremities to get those results that I want, because any which ways I know, if only I get success when I get aligned with divine will. And now every time I get into a kind of failure, it really doesn't mean anything, but perhaps a retrospective approach, that perhaps some things are not aligned with divine will. What can be those elements? So it gets into my self inquiry, self realization, self awareness, and then take actions realigning with divine will. So it's like a cycle. In this, where is the room for you know b- raising very high when success comes, and when you just get into disappointment, or too low when failure happens? Because When you are successful, it means you've done something aligned with divineful. Okay, grateful. If you're not done, there is some gap. Okay, I need to fix it. Okay, let me show me the way. Swami, what is my way? Give me the, let my inner light shine upon it. If you just calm your voices, inner voice of the head, automatically the inner wisdom, which is from Krishna, just comes out and shouts, or it becomes more and more, not just subtle, it becomes very, very understandable, comprehensible. That is where is the third important uh, point that we are talking. And whenever I am having a disappointment, whenever I am seeing that there is something that is not as expected, okay, I know there will be pain, but then what can set me free at that point is that simple inquiry. That's what we are trying to say. Instead of rebranding myself or my life as this labeling, this is how it is, I am a dash, I am this, I am not lucky, my God is angry with me, dash, dash, dash. That eternal inner mind is chattering, 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 chattering. And there is no room for you to improve upon or have an inquiry on what should you do to realign with yourself. So all you have to do during that phases of a little lesser outcome than what you expected, or whatever are the deviations of your expected outcome, what you can do is, or more focus on, what is that I am reacting. Am I reacting now from my ego? Ego is what? Fear, anger, um, jealousy, pride, arrogance, attachment, ambition. All of these are our egos. So am I working from there, or am I responding from my higher divine aligned self? The moment I may get into any emotional state, that's fine, that's part of life. We don't have again a constant emotion that, okay, this is how I started my day as happy, so I'm always going to be happy. No, it is not like that. I again, when you go back to the third teaching, what is it? Take both sadness and happy, same, same. So when I stand in this absolute acceptance of these two dualities that happens, and I look beyond it, and I can live my life not being held by these dualities of life, but beyond. When I look beyond, only then I feel that my inner self can shine bright. So the true yoga is not swinging between these two, but no matter what the external triggers are, internal triggers are, can I embrace inner stillness? Can I be quiet? Not by force, but total acceptance, not by any other external attributes other than acceptance. Because I know these are all temporary, and it will, once it comes, it goes. But what I can do is, I can steady my mind. When I go beyond this, I get an access. Oh, yeah, this didn't happen like this. Okay, then how can I? What is the ego that has led me into this reaction? And what could be the higher self alignment at this point? How can I free from that particular desire? How can I feel content within? How can I be more stable rather than swinging with the outcomes and internal and external triggers? How can I be a bit more dispassionate, detached with anger, lust, greed, jealousy, shame, guilt, sadness, vulnerability, helplessness? And the face of that, you might have to think of which part of me, Taunmanshi also says that, which part of me is reacting to this particular trigger? And can I just be a witness, like just like how a lotus is witness, there's a drop on a lotus flower, a lotus leaf. How am I witnessing to it? Can I be a witness to it like this? And when you can do that on a moment by moment, that's where mindfulness come into play. When you can be aware of that reactional states and start responding with alignment with your divine self, that's when the true light, the inner light shines. That is where we get into the sthita prajna state. That's what we call, right, the steady wisdom state. So that is where we are talking, and it doesn't mean we need to renunciate all the worldly physical aspects. Okay, but what we are renunciating is the mental slavery to that senses.